The morning sun spilled through the towering glass windows of the downtown courthouse, casting long, golden beams across the polished mahogany benches. Judge Milton Harris, a man whose name carried decades of authority, tapped his pen rhythmically against the bench. Routine. Another day. Another custody hearing. But the air inside the courtroom that morning was anything but ordinary. Milo Parker, a 2-year-old with large, expressive eyes, sat fidgeting on his mother's lap. His tiny fingers clung to her dress as though holding on would anchor him to some sense of safety he had not felt in weeks. Ever since the break-in at their home, Milo had hardly spoken, his laughter and chatter replaced by silence and wide-eyed fear. The courtroom felt too large, too bright, too loud for someone so small, and Milo shrank against his mother as the proceedings began. The bailiff cleared his throat, his polished shoes clicking sharply against the marble floor. "All rise, court is now in session." The sound of the gavel echoed through the hall like a command, but Milo didn't flinch. He just watched, silent, his mother whispering reassurances that barely reached him. Judge Harris scanned the room, eyes settling on the mother and child. "Mrs. Parker," he said, his voice deep but calm, "we're here to discuss the temporary custody arrangements regarding your son, Milo. I trust you've both prepared." Milo's mother nodded, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Yes, Your Honor." Outside the courtroom, the police had stationed a K-9 unit, following a protocol that had been recommended after the recent break-in. Titan, a large Belgian Malinois with a reputation for intelligence and loyalty, was one of the department's most disciplined dogs. He had been part of high-profile investigations, trained to respond to danger before humans could even perceive it. Officer Ramirez pushed the door open, Titan at his side, both moving with the fluidity of experience. Titan's ears were pricked, eyes sharp, tail controlled but alert. He was supposed to be a silent presence, a precaution. No one expected him to interact with anyone, certainly not a toddler. But as soon as Titan entered, Milo froze. His tiny body stiffened. His eyes widened, staring straight into the dog's intense gaze. The judge's voice faltered slightly. "Control your dog, officer." Titan didn't move aside. Instead, he slowly trotted toward Milo, every movement deliberate, measured. The courtroom fell silent. The air grew thick with tension. Officers exchanged uneasy glances, but Titan's focus was unwavering. He stopped a few feet from Milo, sitting on his haunches, head tilted as though listening. Judge Harris's hand hovered over his pen. Something about the scene unsettled him. He had seen countless people try to command Titan. He had never seen the dog approach anyone on his own, let alone a child who had barely spoken in weeks. Then Milo did something no one expected. His lips quivered and a sound emerged, a whisper. "Sunflower," he said. The courtroom gasped. The word was faint, barely audible, but it carried weight. Officer Ramirez froze, jaw tight. "Sunflower," he whispered under his breath. "Sunflower?" Judge Harris echoed, confusion and curiosity battling in his chest. He had seen plenty of odd moments in court, but never like this. The word sunflower wasn't random. It was part of a protocol, an emergency code used by K-9 handlers to signal a high-threat situation. No child should know it. The judge's pen slipped from his fingers, clattering loudly against the mahogany bench. Heads turned, eyes widening. A few gasps erupted, quickly hushed by the bailiff. But the tension didn't ease, it deepened. Milo's mother froze, her hands gripping her son's small frame. He hasn't spoken in weeks," she stammered. Not since that night." Her voice trembled, eyes darting toward the officers who had escorted Titan. Officer Ramirez knelt slightly, maintaining eye contact with Titan, whose gaze never wavered from Milo. How do you know that word?" he asked softly, though the weight of the question hung in the air like a storm cloud. Milo leaned closer to his mother, whispering again, barely audible. "He said sunflower, the man in the dark house." A chill ran through the courtroom. Judge Harris blinked, trying to process the words. The dark house, the one Milo had referred to in the police reports weeks ago. A break-in that had left no fingerprints, no evidence, no culprit. Only Milo's terrified memory and the haunting silence that had followed. Officer Ramirez straightened, tension etched into every line of his face. Titan's ears twitched, muscles taut, as if sensing the invisible threat that hovered just outside the courtroom doors. The judge cleared his throat, trying to restore order. "Mrs. Parker, what exactly are you saying?" "I'm saying he remembers him," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "The intruder Milo saw him," she swallowed hard, "and he spoke, after weeks of nothing, only to Titan." The room felt smaller somehow, the air heavier, charged with unspoken fear. The attorneys shifted uneasily, papers rustling, but no one dared break the silence that had fallen. The spectators, few in number but intensely curious, leaned forward, sensing the tension. Every second stretched, brittle as glass. Judge Harris rubbed his temples, a low hum of disbelief escaping him. Milo's gaze was locked on Titan, unafraid, almost expectant. The dog, trained to detect the faintest hint of danger, remained alert, protective, almost reverent in his stance. Ramirez spoke quietly, voice tight with professional concern. "Your Honor, Titan is reacting to something only he should sense. There's no ordinary explanation. I've trained him for years. He's never reacted like this to anyone, let alone a child." The judge took a slow breath. "And the child," he said, "the code." "Yes," Ramirez said, his voice trembling slightly. "The code, sunflower." And then he pointed toward the hallway, like he knew someone was coming. A low murmur ran through the courtroom. The bailiff shifted nervously. Judge Harris's eyes narrowed. "You mean he could see it coming?" Before Ramirez could answer, Milo spoke again. His voice was barely a whisper, trembling but clear. "He's coming back." Every head turned toward the hallway, where the courtroom doors remained closed. A sense of collective dread settled over everyone present. The judge's hand tightened around the edge of the bench. The pen, still lying on its side, was forgotten. Titan growled softly, a deep, resonant warning that vibrated through the polished floorboards. The room held its breath, suspended between disbelief and terror. Milo's mother clutched her son, rocking slightly, eyes wide. The attorneys exchanged glances, unsure whether to intervene or stay frozen in awe. The spectators leaned forward, sensing that they were witnessing something beyond the ordinary, something almost supernatural in its timing. Judge Harris swallowed hard. He had dealt with emergencies, with high-profile cases, with unpredictable witnesses, but nothing had ever prepared him for this. A toddler, nearly silent for weeks, speaking a code word, drawing the attention of a fully trained police dog, sensing a threat that no one else could see. The silence stretched, taut as a wire. Then, slowly, Titan took a single step forward, head lowered, eyes fixed on the door. Milo mirrored the movement, a tiny, determined shadow of the dog's poised stance. The judge's stomach twisted with a mix of fear and curiosity. "Officer Ramirez," he said, voice steady but edged with urgency, What do you expect?" Ramirez hesitated. "Your Honor, I don't know. Titan's never reacted this way before, but he knows. He knows something is about to happen." Milo's small hand rose slightly, pointing toward the hallway. "He's here," he whispered, voice barely audible but heavy with certainty. A collective shiver ran through the courtroom. Judge Harris, a man who had presided over hundreds of cases and seen the worst of human nature, felt his knees weaken. The pen that had fallen from his fingers remained on the bench, a silent witness to the moment when ordinary life collided with something unexplainable. And then, just as the judge opened his mouth to demand calm, a faint sound echoed from the hallway, a shadow moving behind the frosted glass. The courtroom froze. Every heartbeat seemed to echo, every breath caught in throats. Titan stiffened, hackles rising, a low growl vibrating through the room. Milo's mother held him tighter, tears pooling in her eyes. The judge leaned forward, gavel forgotten. No one spoke, no one dared. And in that suspended moment, everyone realized that whatever was coming would change everything. The courtroom, still heavy with the echoes of Titan's low growl, seemed to shrink around everyone. Judge Harris's hand hovered uselessly over the gavel, the metal weight suddenly insignificant compared to the unfolding tension. Milo's tiny whisper, "Sunflower," hung in the air like a storm cloud, charged with a meaning no one could fully grasp. Officer Ramirez knelt beside Titan, his hands gently gripping the dog's harness, though Titan's body remained rigid, ready to spring. "He shouldn't know that word," Ramirez muttered, voice tight. "Only trained officers know it. It's an emergency command. He can't possibly unless someone." Milo's mother, trembling, hugged her son closer. He's been silent for weeks," she whispered, voice cracking. "After the break-in, he wouldn't even speak to me. And now he says it to the dog." The judge's brow furrowed. "Break-in." His voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed unease. "Explain, why wasn't this resolved?" The mother swallowed hard. "No prints, no evidence. No one saw him, but Milo, he remembers everything. The man, the dark house, Milo says he saw him." Her voice faltered as tears began to streak down her cheeks. The words hung like smoke in the courtroom. Everyone exchanged uneasy glances. The air, once merely tense, now felt thick with dread. The spectators leaned forward, silent, sensing the gravity of the moment. Even the attorneys paused, unsure how to proceed with a case that had suddenly become something else entirely. Judge Harris finally leaned forward, voice lowered but commanding. "Officer Ramirez, what exactly is Titan sensing?" Ramirez swallowed, the color draining from his face. I don't know, Your Honor. Titan is trained to detect danger, but right now he's reacting to something only Milo sees. Something I can't sense. He's alerting us. He's protecting the child." Milo, still on his mother's lap, turned toward Titan and whispered again. He said it's coming back. He said, tell the judge it's not over." The courtroom fell completely silent. The words were innocuous on the surface, yet they carried a chilling weight. Not over. Who? What? And why had Milo been chosen or even exposed to this knowledge? Judge Harris's pen, still lying on the bench, felt suddenly meaningless. He rose slightly, eyes scanning the courtroom, looking for a logical explanation. But the logic wasn't there. A toddler, nearly silent for weeks, speaking an emergency code meant for trained officers, and pointing to a threat no one could see. It was impossible. The spectators shifted nervously. Murmurs began to rise, but the judge raised his hand, silencing them. "Everyone remain calm," he said, though the words did little to calm the tension coiling in the room like a living thing. Ramirez rose slowly, keeping Titan close. "Your Honor, I need everyone to stay put. Titan is trained to respond, and right now, he's picking up a scent or a presence, something approaching." The words made the hairs on the back of everyone's neck stand up. Titan's growl deepened, vibrating through the polished floor, a low rumble that seemed to echo in every corner of the room. Milo's tiny hand rose slightly, pointing toward the courtroom door. "There," he whispered. Judge Harris swallowed hard. He had seen crime scenes, chaos, and violence, but nothing like this. Milo's innocence, Titan's instinct, and the haunting specificity of the word sunflower combined to create a moment that teetered on the edge of disbelief. "Officer," he said, voice tense, "if what you're suggesting is true, then this isn't just a custody case anymore." Ramirez's eyes were wide. "Yes, Your Honor, it's potentially life-threatening." The bailiff moved to the door, ready to secure it, but Titan stiffened, blocking his path. Ramirez caught the man's arm. "Stop! Don't open that door. Not yet." Judge Harris felt the full weight of responsibility crash onto him. Every instinct told him to call for reinforcements, to evacuate the courtroom, to lock everything down. But the instinct of another kind, a gut feeling honed by years on the bench, told him that every second counted. Milo's mother was trembling violently now. "Milo, what is it?" she whispered, trying to make sense of the incomprehensible fear radiating from her child. Milo's lips quivered, and then, as if compelled by some unseen force, he whispered a second word: "Red door." The room collectively froze. No one moved. Red door. There was only one red door in the courthouse, a rarely used old emergency exit leading to the alley behind the building. No one should have been near it. No one should have known about it. Titan growled, low and urgent, ears pointed straight toward that door. Every muscle in his body was coiled, ready to spring. Ramirez's hands tightened on the harness. "Your Honor, that door. Someone's coming through it. I can smell it, someone with intent. And Milo, he recognizes them." The judge's stomach dropped. Milo had not spoken freely in weeks. Not only that, but the toddler's knowledge was precise. How could he? Who had taught him these codes? And why would a stranger be targeting him in a courtroom in broad daylight? Suddenly, a shadow moved behind the frosted glass of the hallway. It was subtle, just a dark shape shifting beyond the door, but it was enough. Titan's growl grew sharper, a warning that no one in the room could ignore. Milo stiffened, pointing at the shadow with his small, trembling hand. There he is," he whispered, voice breaking. The judge rose from his seat, trying to maintain authority, though his legs shook beneath him. "Who? What are you talking about?" Milo's gaze didn't waver. "The man from the dark house," he said softly, but the weight behind his words made the courtroom gasp. "The man from the dark house. The intruder who had terrorized their home, the one no one had caught, the one who had haunted Milo's dreams. He was here, in the courthouse." Officer Ramirez's pulse quickened. "Everyone stay back," he ordered, moving Titan closer to Milo. The dog pressed his massive body against the toddler, shielding him, scanning the door, ready to act. Milo's mother clutched him tightly, rocking him slightly, whispering reassurances she barely felt herself. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here. It's okay." The judge's face went pale. His authority, usually unshakable, felt fragile in the presence of something that defied explanation. "This isn't normal," he muttered. "This is anything I've ever dealt with." Suddenly, a faint click echoed from the direction of the red door. Titan stiffened further, his hackles rising. The shadow behind the glass shifted again. The judge's heart raced. Milo leaned forward slightly, whispering with more urgency, "He's going to try the door." Ramirez drew in a sharp breath. "Not on my watch," he said, moving to intercept. But Titan's reaction was instantaneous. The dog stepped between the officer and the door, muscles taut, growl now a low, menacing rumble. It was not just a warning, it was a challenge. The spectators, who had been silent until now, began to murmur. The tension was almost unbearable. The courtroom felt like it had been transported to a different reality, one where ordinary rules no longer applied. Milo's mother whispered frantically, rocking him as he clutched Titan. "Oh God, please no." The judge swallowed hard, fighting to maintain composure. "Everyone remain calm," he said, though the sound of his own voice sounded hollow. "No one moves. Do not open that door." Milo's small hand rose, pointing once more. "He's coming," he said. And then, before anyone could react, the shadow moved again, faster this time, and the faint outline of a figure could be seen clearly against the frosted glass. The figure was tall, purposeful, moving with intent. Titan lunged forward suddenly, teeth bared, growling like a thunderclap. The courtroom erupted into chaos. Chairs scraped, gasps erupted, people stumbled backward. Milo's mother screamed, hugging her son tighter. The judge stumbled back, eyes wide, heart hammering. But Milo remained still, eyes wide, staring at the figure with a mixture of fear and recognition. And then, softly, almost reverently, he whispered, "He's here for me." The words cut through the chaos like a knife. The room froze again, every eye fixed on the shadow behind the red door. Titan's growl continued, a living warning, vibrating through the floorboards. Officer Ramirez braced himself. knowing that the seconds that followed could decide everything. And in that suspended electric moment, everyone realized what was about to happen was no accident. It had been coming. And no one in the courtroom, no matter how trained, prepared, or authoritative, was ready for what would happen next. The courtroom had descended into a silence so thick it felt almost physical, like a heavy fog pressing against everyone's chests. Titan remained poised in front of Milo, muscles taut, eyes fixed on the red door at the end of the hallway. Every instinct the dog had honed over years of law enforcement screamed that something dangerous was approaching. But what and why remained a mystery. Judge Harris leaned forward over the bench, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him harder than ever before. He had presided over violent cases, shootings, and high-profile criminal trials, but nothing had prepared him for the combination of a toddler who spoke in codes and a police dog behaving like a living alarm system. Milo's whispered words, "He's here for me," kept echoing in his mind. Officer Ramirez moved cautiously, keeping Titan close. "Your Honor," he said quietly, eyes never leaving the door, "whatever's coming, it's not ordinary. Titan doesn't just react like this unless there's a real threat. And Milo, he recognizes it. He's seen it before." Milo clutched his mother's hand, leaning back against her chest. He's tall," he whispered, trembling, "and he smells like shadows." The words sent a shiver down the judge's spine. Shadows. How could a toddler describe an intruder as smelling like shadows? And yet, the fear in Milo's eyes, combined with Titan's warning growl, made disbelief impossible. Something was very wrong. The bailiff whispered into his radio, but before he could finish, Titan growled louder, a sound that vibrated in the floor and shook the air. Officer Ramirez froze. The dog's hackles were up, teeth bared, body coiled like a spring ready to snap. And then it happened. A faint, deliberate click echoed from the hallway. It was subtle but unmistakable. Titan stiffened further, barking low and warning, a guttural sound that seemed to warn everyone. "Step back. Danger is here." Milo leaned forward slightly, his tiny hand pointing toward the door. "He's coming closer," he whispered, voice quivering. I don't think he knows we can see him yet." The judge's pulse quickened. The words confirmed the unimaginable. The intruder wasn't just approaching, he had a purpose, a target, Milo. Officer Ramirez whispered urgently, "Stay behind me. Everyone get down if you can. Titan and I can handle him, but we need space. He's testing the perimeter." The spectators, frozen in a mix of fear and fascination, instinctively obeyed. They ducked behind benches, some pressing against the walls while attorneys crouched, clutching folders and shaking. The courthouse, once a symbol of order and authority, had become a stage for impending chaos. Milo's mother hugged her son tightly, whispering words of comfort she barely believed herself. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's right here. You're safe. You're safe." But Milo didn't respond. His eyes were fixed on the shadow behind the frosted glass, unblinking. And then he whispered another word that made the judge's stomach turn. "He remembers." "Remembers?" the judge asked, voice almost a whisper. "What do you mean?" Milo's small fingers trembled as he pointed. The smell, like the man who hurt us before, the dark house man. He knows Titan." Officer Ramirez froze. Titan's reaction made sense now, in part. This wasn't a random intruder. This was someone connected to the previous break-in, someone who recognized Titan, someone who knew the dog's training, and who had targeted Milo specifically. The shadow moved again, this time more deliberate. The frosted glass blurred the figure, but a tall silhouette was unmistakable. And then, for a fleeting second, the intruder's features were visible. A mask. No, it had slipped, and the room collectively froze in recognition. Milo gasped. He's the same one," he whispered, "from the dark house." Milo's mother's face went pale, her hand clutching him tighter. "No, it can't be," she whispered, voice cracking. The judge, though a man of authority and years of experience, felt his hands tremble. Every instinct screamed that the court had just entered a zone where rules no longer applied. And yet, he had to act. He had to maintain control for everyone's safety. "Officer Ramirez," he said, voice steady despite the fear coiling in his chest, "what are our options?" Ramirez's eyes never left Titan and the shadowy figure. "We can try to intercept him before he reaches the doors. Titan can block him, but this intruder is dangerous, and he's clever. He's been here before. He knows the building. If he reaches Milo—" The dog growled low again, cutting off the sentence. Titan was focused, almost eerily aware, his entire body signaling imminent action. The intruder was close enough now that faint sounds of movement echoed through the frosted glass. Milo whispered again, his voice barely audible but urgent. He has the black bag. He said he's coming for Titan too." The judge's stomach dropped. A black bag, a weapon, or worse. The possibilities flashed through his mind like fire: explosives, firearms, poisons. The thought of the toddler in the same room as an armed intruder made his throat tighten. Ramirez whispered to the judge, voice urgent but low, "Your Honor, if he gets through that door, it's not just Milo. Titan will defend him, yes, but we don't know how far the intruder is willing to go. This could end badly unless we act now." The shadow shifted again. Now the shape was unmistakable, tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the precision of someone who knew exactly what he wanted. Titan's growl escalated to a bark, low but terrifying in its resonance. Every person in the courtroom felt it in their chest. Milo's hand quivered as he pointed again. He wants the dog," he whispered. He remembers Titan from before. He's not just after me." Judge Harris's mind raced. The child's words, the dog's reaction, the intruder's precision, it all pointed to something much larger than a simple break-in. The intruder wasn't acting on impulse. He had a plan, and Titan, Milo, and the judge were caught in its path. Ramirez made a split-second decision. "Titan, block!" he shouted. The dog lunged forward, muscles coiled, placing himself between the intruder and Milo. The figure paused momentarily, frozen, calculating the dog's reaction. Milo's small voice broke through the tension. He's scared of you, but he knows you." The judge froze at that. Ramirez looked at him, incredulous. "Knows him? How could a stranger?" Milo's eyes, wide and serious, met Titan. He trained you once. He remembers you, and you remember him." The courtroom collectively inhaled. The implications were staggering. Titan, trained for obedience and protection, was facing someone who had once controlled him, or at least influenced him in some way. And now the intruder was testing boundaries, measuring the dog, looking for weakness. The shadow moved again, slowly, deliberately. Ramirez tensed, ready to spring, but Titan's growl deepened, warning him to hold position. The intruder's hand twitched, a glint of metal catching the light. A weapon, a tool. Milo whispered again. He wants to scare us, but he can't touch me while Titan is here." Suddenly a click, a deliberate, loud click echoed from the hallway. Titan's ears snapped forward. The intruder had triggered something, testing the lock. A weapon. Ramirez's hands flew to his radio, but Titan barked sharply, cutting him off. The dog's body stiffened, coiled like a spring. Milo's mother gasped, clutching him tighter. Please, baby, hold still." The intruder's shadow shifted again, now closer to the door. The click repeated, faster this time. Titan barked, lunging slightly, teeth bared. Milo's small voice rang out. Now, Titan, protect." In that instant, the courtroom seemed to hold its breath. Titan, trained but also instinctively protective, charged forward, blocking the intruder from reaching the door. The man's eyes widened in surprise. He hadn't expected the dog's precision, nor the toddler's knowledge of commands. Officer Ramirez lunged, ready to intervene, but Titan's growl told him to wait. The dog had the situation under control, or at least as much control as possible in a room full of terrified civilians. Milo whispered again, softly, almost to himself. He's going to try another way. He's clever. Judge Harris felt a cold sweat run down his back. The words, the tension, the dog, the child, they all painted a picture of danger too precise to be coincidence. The courtroom was suspended in time, every second stretching unbearably. Titan, growling, lunging, prepared to defend, and Milo, whispering insights that no child should possibly know, held the room together with a fragile thread of hope. And then, a door creaked in the opposite hallway, signaling that the intruder had moved again. Everyone's heart jumped. The danger was multiplying. The threat was evolving. And the real test was just beginning. The creak echoed through the courthouse like a sinister whisper, a sound that froze everyone in place. Titan's growl deepened, vibrating through the floorboards, a warning and a promise all at once. Milo's tiny body stiffened, eyes wide, lips trembling as he clutched his mother's hand with all the strength his little arms could muster. Judge Harris felt his throat tighten. He had faced threats before, armed defendants, violent mobs, but nothing in his decades on the bench had ever prepared him for this. A toddler, a dog, and an intruder moving with deadly precision, who seemed to know their every move. Officer Ramirez whispered, barely audible, "He's testing us. He's moving, trying to find a weak spot. Titan, hold him back. Milo, stay behind Titan." Milo nodded, tiny fingers clutching Titan's fur. He thinks the dog can't stop him," Milo whispered. His words were chilling, a mixture of fear and eerie certainty. "But he doesn't know Titan remembers." The judge's pen, long forgotten, lay on the bench like a relic. His mind raced. He needed a plan, but every second dragged like a storm approaching. The intruder was clever, familiar with Titan, and patient. That combination made him dangerous in ways the law could not quantify. The shadow reappeared, gliding across the frosted glass of the opposite hallway. Its movements were deliberate, calculated, almost taunting. Titan's body tensed like a spring, hackles raised, teeth bared. He growled, low and menacing, warning the intruder that any misstep would be met with force. Milo whispered again, soft but urgent, He's going to try the stairwell. I saw him there before." The judge froze. The stairwell was an old, seldom used emergency exit that led to a side alley behind the courthouse. If the intruder reached it, he could disappear before law enforcement could intercept him. But more importantly, Milo's words suggested memory, an uncanny, terrifying memory of someone who had already haunted the child. Ramirez moved toward the staircase entrance, keeping Titan in front of him. "Everyone stay low," he ordered, voice tight. "Do not move unless I say." Spectators and attorneys pressed against walls, crouching behind benches. Milo's mother held him against her chest, whispering prayers and shushing sobs. "It's okay, baby, it's okay, you're safe." But Milo's eyes never left the hallway. He wants the dog first," he whispered. He knows if Titan goes down, I'm next." The words hit the room like a physical blow. Judge Harris's stomach sank. The intruder wasn't just targeting a child. He was testing defenses, understanding strengths and vulnerabilities, precisely, methodically. Titan's growl escalated. His eyes, black and sharp, locked on the shadow that paused near the stairwell. The intruder seemed to hesitate, almost studying Titan, measuring him. The tension between predator and protector was palpable, each moment stretching into eternity. Milo leaned closer to his mother, whispering again, He remembers the night in the dark house. He thinks I can't tell." Milo's mother gasped softly, "Oh God." The judge's mind raced. He had courtroom procedures drilled into him since law school, but there were no procedures for a toddler who could sense danger, a dog trained to anticipate it, and a criminal who was neither random nor irrational. The usual measures, police barricades, security protocols, were useless here. Every second counted, and the intruder had the advantage of stealth, knowledge, and patience. Suddenly, the shadow moved faster, slipping through the stairwell doorway. Titan barked sharply, lunging forward but restrained by Ramirez. The dog's teeth gleamed, and the low growl vibrated through the room. The intruder paused at the top of the stairs, his silhouette framed against the dim light of the alley outside. Milo's voice rang out, small but urgent. "Now, Titan, stop him." Titan lunged with precision, a blur of motion placing himself squarely between the stairwell and the courtroom. The intruder stopped, frozen, studying the dog's calculated stance. The black bag he carried swung slightly, revealing its angular shape. A weapon. Tools. The uncertainty made the air electric with fear. Judge Harris barked orders, voice trembling. "Police! Intercept him, don't let him escape." Ramirez moved forward cautiously, Titan coiled beside him, ready to strike. The intruder's silhouette shifted, a hand flicking toward the bag. For a split second, the world held its breath. Milo's small hand rose, trembling but pointed. He's bluffing. He's afraid. Titan remembers the training. He knows he can't win. Ramirez exchanged a glance with the judge, stunned. How could a toddler, barely 2 years old, understand a criminal's strategy? Milo's insight, paired with Titan's instincts, seemed almost preternatural. The intruder took a cautious step back, reassessing. Titan growled, low and guttural, muscles coiled. Milo whispered again. He's waiting for the door to close, then he'll try again. Judge Harris clenched his fists on the bench. "How do we stop him?" he demanded. Ramirez's eyes never left the intruder. "We hold position, Titan blocks, I cover the dog, and we wait for him to make a move." Milo leaned forward slightly, whispering almost under his breath. He's testing us, testing Titan, testing me. He wants to see fear." The judge's heart pounded. He realized the stakes had grown beyond a simple courtroom threat. This was psychological, strategic, and terrifyingly precise. The intruder was counting on fear, counting on hesitation. The shadow in the stairwell paused, then moved slowly toward the courtroom door again. Titan's growl deepened. Ramirez's hand rested on the dog's harness, ready to act but restrained. The intruder seemed to hesitate, studying Titan, measuring his loyalty, strength, and reaction. Milo whispered again. He remembers the night, and Titan remembers too. He thinks the dog can be tricked." Judge Harris's stomach dropped. The dog remembered. How could a memory of training, of past interactions, affect this moment? He realized the intruder wasn't just clever. He was intimate with Titan's history, and that history was weaponized. Suddenly, the intruder moved again, faster this time, stepping closer to the red door. Titan barked sharply, lunging forward, teeth bared. The intruder froze, glancing down at the dog, the black bag still in his hands. The tension was unbearable. Milo's small voice broke the room's fragile silence. He wants me to be scared, but I'm not. Titan is here. Titan remembers. He can't win." Ramirez glanced at the judge, stunned. The toddler's insight, paired with the dog's instincts, was holding the line, but the intruder wasn't finished. He adjusted the bag, taking a deliberate step forward, testing Titan's patience. Titan growled, low and menacing, the sound echoing in the room like a living warning. The intruder paused, hand twitching toward the bag again. Ramirez's muscles tensed. Milo's mother clutched her son tighter, whispering prayers she had long forgotten. The judge, heart-pounding, realized the room had become a battleground of instinct, memory, and fear. The intruder, the dog, and the child were engaged in a silent duel, one where hesitation could be fatal. And then, just as the intruder made a decisive move toward the door, Titan lunged. The dog's powerful body struck, teeth aimed at the bag. The intruder staggered backward, surprised by the ferocity and precision of the attack. Milo gasped, tiny hands clenching Titan's fur. He can't touch me now, he's weak." The shadow recoiled, dropping the black bag. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the tense courtroom. Ramirez moved in, grabbing the intruder and pinning him to the ground. The figure struggled, but Titan's presence kept him in check. Milo's mother sobbed, tears streaming down her face. "Oh, baby, you're safe, you're safe." The judge exhaled, voice trembling but loud enough to command the room. "Call the police backup, secure the stairwell. Everyone, remain calm." Titan sat down beside Milo, panting but alert. Milo leaned against him, tiny fingers stroking the dog's fur. He won't come back," Milo whispered, voice soft but resolute. The intruder, restrained and frustrated, glared at the child and the dog. The black bag lay on the floor, its contents unknown but now irrelevant. The courtroom had been a battlefield, and the child and dog had held the line together. Judge Harris looked around, realizing the full gravity of what had just occurred. The courtroom, filled with fear moments ago, now brimmed with awe. A toddler and a dog had faced down a trained criminal and survived. But even as relief swept through the room, an unspoken tension remained. The intruder had been clever, intimate with Titan's training and patient. And Milo had seen him before, in a dark house filled with shadows and fear. The judge's pen, still lying on the bench, seemed almost symbolic now. Ordinary tools of authority had meant nothing. Only instinct, courage, and memory had prevented disaster. And as the courtroom slowly exhaled, one thought hung over everyone like a shadow. The danger was over for now, but had it really passed? Because in the alley outside, unnoticed by anyone but the intruder, a faint shadow melted into the darkness, watching, waiting. The courtroom buzzed with the aftermath of chaos. The intruder, restrained by Officer Ramirez, struggled against the grip, his eyes darting between Titan and Milo. There was fury there, yes, but also recognition, a cold, calculated awareness that unsettled everyone. Judge Harris stood behind the bench, his knuckles white as he gripped the edges. Every second since the intruder had appeared, the ordinary rules of justice had been stripped away, replaced by something primal: survival. Milo's mother clutched her son to her chest, whispering prayers she didn't entirely believe. Her son's small hands still pressed into Titan's fur, as if the dog's presence alone could shield him from all dangers, even the unseen ones lurking in the corners of the courthouse. Officer Ramirez's grip on the intruder tightened. "Who are you?" he demanded. "Why are you after the child? What's in the bag?" The man didn't answer. Instead, his eyes flicked toward Milo, and for a fleeting moment the air seemed to thicken. His lips curled in a subtle, almost imperceptible smirk, as though he knew something no one else did. Milo leaned back slightly, whispering to Titan, He's not just the dark house man. He's the one who trained Titan before the police, before he was ours." The words struck Ramirez like a punch to the chest. What did you say?" he asked, incredulous. Milo repeated it softly, voice quivering but determined. He taught Titan before. He remembers the commands I don't even know. He can make Titan listen if he wants." Judge Harris swallowed hard. A chill ran down his spine. The implications were staggering. The intruder wasn't just a random criminal. He had intimate knowledge of Titan's past, and that knowledge made him uniquely dangerous. He could manipulate a dog trained for protection, a living weapon, and now Milo, who seemed to instinctively understand both predator and protector, had identified him. Officer Ramirez's jaw tightened. "That's impossible," he muttered. "No one should know Titan like that. He's our best trained K9. He shouldn't, Milo whispered again, barely audible. He remembers the night of the break-in. He came back." The judge's stomach dropped. He had assumed the danger was over once the intruder had been restrained. But Milo's words, Titan's tension, and the man's unreadable expression suggested otherwise. This was no ordinary criminal. This was someone connected to the past, to memories that had haunted a toddler and a dog, and perhaps to something larger no one could yet comprehend. The intruder's voice broke the tense silence, low and chilling. "You think you understand me. You have no idea what you're dealing with." Officer Ramirez leaned in, hand on his radio. Call backup, secure the stairwell, lock every exit, now. The man sneered, but there was a glint in his eyes, a challenge, a silent promise. Titan growled low, warning him. Milo, small but unflinching, whispered, He thinks he can control the dog. But Titan, he remembers more than commands. He remembers fear. The intruder's jaw tightened. For a moment he seemed genuinely unnerved. Titan's instincts were more than training. They were memory, perception, and something else. Something the intruder had not accounted for. The toddler had sensed it, recognized it, and the man's confidence faltered. Milo's mother hugged him tighter, whispering, You're safe, baby, it's okay. But even she could not entirely silence the tremble in her voice. Judge Harris moved closer to Ramirez. What is he capable of? He asked quietly. If he knows Titan like that, what's stopping him from? Before he could finish, Titan lunged slightly forward, growl vibrating through the floor. The intruder froze, instinctively stepping back. Milo whispered urgently, He's scared. But he wants the black bag. He's not done yet. The black bag had been dropped moments ago during the struggle, its contents still unknown. Ramirez approached cautiously, glancing at the man. We need to see what's inside, he said. Judge Harris nodded, but Milo's small hand shot out, stopping him. No, not yet, he whispered. He wants us to look. He's testing. He's counting. Ramirez exchanged a glance with the judge, unease tightening his chest. The child was right. Every moment with this intruder was a test, a psychological game designed to unsettle, manipulate, and perhaps terrorize. Suddenly the intruder shifted in his grip. Titan's ears pricked. Milo whispered again, He wants to go outside. He wants the alley. Ramirez stiffened. The thought that the man could escape, even momentarily, was terrifying. Outside, he could vanish, leaving the child vulnerable and the courthouse compromised. Milo's mother tightened her grip on him. No, baby, we can't let him. Milo's tiny voice interrupted, calm but urgent. He thinks I can't stop him. But Titan remembers. I remember too. Judge Harris's jaw dropped. You remember? He asked, incredulous. Milo nodded slightly. The dark house, the smells, the shadows, the fear. He left clues. I remember them. Titan remembers them too. He can stop him. Officer Ramirez's mind raced. It sounded impossible, almost supernatural. A toddler and a dog using memory, instinct, and training against a man who had once controlled them both. Yet the evidence was all around him. Titan's growl, Milo's precise observations, the intruder's faltering confidence. The intruder's eyes flicked toward the black bag again. Slowly, deliberately, he shifted, testing Titan's reactions. The dog's body coiled, muscles taut, growling like thunder. Milo whispered, small but commanding, He's bluffing. Don't let him touch it. The intruder froze, calculating. He had underestimated the combination of child and dog, instinct and memory, courage and loyalty. Titan was more than a trained animal. He was a protector with awareness and experience, and Milo's insight amplified it. Judge Harris felt the tension like a living thing pressing against his chest. He realized that the ordinary tools of authority, laws, procedures, even weapons, were secondary. What mattered here was instinct, courage, and memory, and they were all embodied in the small child and the massive dog. Suddenly, the intruder made a move. He lunged toward the black bag, but Titan reacted instantly, snapping the movement down with a powerful bark and a shove of his shoulder. Milo whispered sharply, No, stop him, stop him. Titan coiled around the intruder, blocking every path, growling with such intensity that the man faltered, stepping backward. Milo's voice rose slightly, commanding, He remembers fear. He can't touch us. Officer Ramirez moved quickly, securing the black bag, revealing its contents, tools for manipulation, coded notes, and a small device that hummed with low energy. A threat, perhaps, but the immediate danger had been neutralized by the combined instincts of child and dog. Milo's mother gasped, "Oh baby, you did it." Milo whispered, still gripping Titan, We did it, but he's not finished. He's patient, he's waiting." Judge Harris realized the truth. This was more than a courtroom incident. It was a battle of wits, instincts, and memories, with a child and a dog at the center. The intruder's motivations were unclear, his strategy meticulous. And even now, restrained and powerless, he was plotting his next move. Outside, the faint shadow lingered, watching through a narrow alley window. The intruder's accomplice, or perhaps another threat, waited, unseen, calculating. The courthouse was only temporarily safe. The game was far from over. Titan sat beside Milo, panting but vigilant. The dog's eyes never left the intruder, aware that the danger was suspended, not gone. Milo's small hand stroked Titan's fur, whispering, He thinks he can win. But we remember. We protect." Judge Harris exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the courtroom settle, though unease remained. He had witnessed something extraordinary. A toddler and a dog facing a criminal who had once controlled them, navigating fear and memory to survive. And yet, the story was far from complete. Because in the alley beyond the courthouse walls, a shadow moved silently, eyes fixed on the black bag, waiting for the moment the intruder, or his accomplice, would strike again. The danger was paused, not ended. The stakes were rising, and the next move would decide everything. The courtroom felt surreal in the aftermath of Titan's defense. The intruder, restrained but still alive with a dangerous intelligence, glared at Milo with an intensity that froze even the hardened officers. Judge Harris leaned on the bench, trying to steady himself. He had never seen fear and courage so intertwined, so palpable in a toddler and a dog. And yet, deep in his gut, he knew the story was far from over. Milo's mother held him tightly, murmuring reassurances that sounded more like prayers for her own sanity than comfort for her son. Milo, however, seemed almost detached from panic. His small fingers traced Titan's fur, and his eyes, dark with concentration, never left the intruder. He's not finished," Milo whispered. He's waiting for the right moment. He wants more than just fear." Officer Ramirez tightened his grip on the man. "Tell us what you want," he demanded. "Why are you doing this?" The intruder's lips twisted into a faint, mocking smile. "Do you really think it's that simple?" he hissed. "You misunderstand everything. You see a dog, you see a child, you think this is about a break-in, about threats, but it's bigger than that, much bigger." The courtroom went silent, every eye fixed on the man, searching for the truth behind the cryptic words. Titan growled low, sensing the shift. This was no longer a fight for space or survival. This was a game of strategy, and the intruder had the first move. Milo whispered to Titan, voice small but precise. He knows about the red door. He knows what's inside." Judge Harris froze. "What red door?" he asked, voice tight. Milo's lips pressed together, eyes wide. "The one behind the hallway, the one we never go near. He wants it. He remembers it too." Ramirez's heart skipped a beat. The red door was a section of the courthouse usually sealed for renovations and storage, a place no one entered for years. What could the intruder possibly want there? And why would a man with his knowledge of Titan's training and Milo's history care about a storage closet? The intruder's eyes flicked toward the hallway, then back at Milo. For the first time, his confident sneer faltered. Titan's growl had softened slightly, but his body remained taut, like a coiled spring ready to strike. The subtle changes in posture told Ramirez more than any words could. Titan was aware of something hidden, something dangerous, something connected to the man's plan. Milo whispered almost to himself. He thinks I don't know, but I do. He wants to take it for Titan, for me, for fear." Milo's mother shook her head, horrified. "Baby, what are you talking about?" Milo's small hand pointed toward the red door. The things inside, the memories, the shadow stuff. He wants them. He wants to control Titan completely, and he's patient enough to wait for the perfect moment. Judge Harris's stomach sank. Memory, control, fear. It all aligned with Milo's words. The intruder wasn't just here for immediate chaos. He had a calculated plan, a strategy rooted in past events that only Milo and Titan could comprehend. Officer Ramirez whispered to the judge, "We need to secure that door. Now, if he gets near it, all bets are off. Titan and Milo won't be enough." Milo's eyes narrowed, small hands gripping Titan's fur. He knows it's locked, but he can get in. He knows the tricks, the shadows, the keys hidden in fear. The judge froze. Keys hidden in fear. It sounded like nonsense. Yet the intensity in Milo's gaze, the way Titan's ears twitched and hackles raised, made disbelief impossible. There was a method to this madness. The intruder's plan involved knowledge of the courthouse, knowledge of Titan, and an almost supernatural understanding of Milo. Suddenly, the man shifted again, his gaze flicking toward the hallway. He had been silent for moments, but his body language now radiated intent. Ramirez's pulse quickened. The intruder was making his move. Milo whispered, voice urgent. He's going for it. The red door, he thinks he can trick Titan. He wants the bag first. He wants to remember. The black bag still lay on the floor, its contents partially exposed. Strange tools, wires, coded notes. Ramirez's eyes flicked to it, realizing the significance. The man's plan wasn't just about entering the room. It was about control, manipulation, and unlocking something long buried. Titan growled low, moving closer to Milo, who mirrored the dog's stance with uncanny instinct. Judge Harris realized what was happening. The child was coordinating with the dog, reading the intruder's intent, predicting his next move. Milo wasn't just a passive observer. He was a strategist, a tiny commander in a battlefield of instincts, memory, and fear. Milo whispered again. He thinks he can scare me into stopping Titan. He doesn't know the red door is more than fear. It's the past. The things he wants can't be controlled without Titan. And I remember them too. Officer Ramirez's jaw tightened. What past? What things? Milo didn't answer. His eyes, wide with concentration, remained locked on the intruder. Titan growled, body taut. The man's hand twitched toward the black bag again, testing, measuring, calculating. Suddenly, the intruder lunged toward the red door, moving faster than anyone expected. Titan reacted instantly, barking, leaping, placing himself squarely between the man and the door. Milo shouted, tiny voice rising with authority. "No, Titan, don't let him." The intruder froze mid-step, eyes wide. Titan's teeth gleamed in the courtroom light. Milo's hand pressed against Titan's side, guiding him, commanding him with a certainty that made the officer's jaws drop. The man's sneer faltered. He hadn't anticipated the combination of child and dog, instinct and memory. He stepped back, weighing his next move, but his hand twitched again toward the black bag. Milo whispered almost to himself. He's trying to remember, trying to make Titan forget. He doesn't understand. Titan remembers, and I remember too. Judge Harris felt a chill run down his spine. Milo's words weren't just about courage. They were about knowledge, history, and secrets hidden in plain sight. Titan's training was powerful, but the bond between child and dog, memory and instinct, was the true weapon here. Officer Ramirez moved closer, ready to intervene. "We can't let him near that door," he muttered. "If he reaches it, all hell could break loose." The intruder shifted again, testing Titan, testing Milo, testing the room. Titan growled low, a sound that vibrated through the courthouse. Milo's hand pressed firmly against Titan's side. He's not ready. He thinks he is, but he's not yet. The judge leaned forward over the bench, heart racing. He realized something terrifying. The intruder's plan involved more than fear, more than chaos. It was about memory, about control, and about a secret locked behind a red door, something only Milo and Titan could protect. Outside, the alley was silent, but a shadow lingered. The intruder had allies, or at least eyes watching for opportunity. The courthouse was momentarily safe, but only because the child and the dog were ready, alert, and fearless. And as the intruder recalculated, Titan's growl deepened and Milo whispered again, the words barely audible. He thinks he can win. He doesn't know the past is alive. He's about to find out. For a heartbeat, the room held its collective breath. The next move would decide everything. The courthouse air hung heavy with anticipation, thick enough to choke. Titan's growl was a low rumble, vibrating through the polished floors, warning everyone that the moment of truth had arrived. Milo's tiny hands gripped the dog's fur, guiding him like a captain at the helm of a ship navigating a storm. Every eye in the room was fixed on the red door at the end of the hallway. The intruder, restrained but brimming with dangerous intelligence, had shifted his attention entirely. The bag, tools, and coded notes seemed almost incidental now. His eyes were locked on the door as if it held the answers to a lifetime of obsession. Milo whispered to Titan, He thinks it's just a door. He doesn't know what's inside. He can't take it." Judge Harris's stomach sank. The red door had always been a section of the courthouse closed for renovations, usually ignored, rarely entered. But Milo's insistence and the intruder's fixation suggested it was far more than a storage closet. It was a key, perhaps the key, to understanding why this man had come, why he had targeted a toddler and a dog with such precision, why he had returned after all these years. Officer Ramirez's voice was tense. "We can't let him get near it, not even close. Titan, hold him back. Everyone stay back." The intruder's gaze darted between Titan and Milo, calculating, testing. "You think you understand me," he hissed. "You don't even know what's real." Milo's small voice rang out, calm but commanding. He thinks I can't see. He thinks Titan can be tricked. He doesn't know what's waiting inside the red door." The man stiffened. For the first time there was a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Titan growled, coiling like a spring, ready to strike at the first move. Milo's hand pressed against Titan, subtle but firm, guiding his movements, giving commands only a child and his dog could understand. Judge Harris leaned over the bench, voice tight with disbelief. What is in that room? What's so important that he would risk everything?" Milo didn't answer. His gaze remained fixed on the intruder, body tense, mind razor-sharp. The room seemed to shrink around them, the only sounds the low growl of Titan, the whisper of Milo's breath, and the intruder's quiet calculation. Suddenly the man lunged, not at Titan, not at Milo, but at the door itself. His hand shot forward, fingers brushing the handle. Titan snapped into action instantly, leaping forward, blocking the intruder with a precision that only years of training could explain. Milo shouted, "No, he can't open it." The struggle was brief but intense. Titan's teeth flashed, snapping near the intruder's wrist. Ramirez moved in, holding the man firmly, but it was Titan and Milo who held the line. The intruder's confidence faltered, his eyes widening as he realized brute force would not win this fight. Milo's small voice whispered again, almost to himself. He wants to see fear. But I remember everything. Titan remembers. We can't let him in." The judge's pen, forgotten for hours, lay on the bench. He felt helpless. No law, no weapon, no protocol could protect the red door now. The child and the dog were the only defense against whatever secret lurked behind it. Suddenly, the intruder froze. His eyes flicked toward the black bag, then back to the door. He whispered under his breath, almost to himself, "The past, it's all here. I just need it. I need it back." Milo's mother gasped, clutching him tighter. "Baby, what's he talking about?" Milo didn't answer. His small hand pressed into Titan's side, guiding him like a shield. He's looking for memories, the ones hidden inside the red door. He wants control, control over Titan, control over me. Officer Ramirez's heart raced. What memories? What could possibly be in that room? Milo's voice was steady, unwavering. The dark house, the night, the shadows, the fear. He left pieces behind. The red door, it holds them all. And Titan remembers. I remember too. The courtroom felt like it had shrunk to the size of a single heartbeat. Every eye, every breath, every muscle was taut with anticipation. Titan's growl deepened, resonating with the memories Milo could not yet articulate. The intruder's hand twitched toward the handle again, slow, deliberate. He was patient, calculating, and terrifyingly skilled. Then a shift in the air. Titan's hackles raised. Milo's hand tightened on his fur. The intruder froze, sensing the change, sensing something approaching. Judge Harris glanced nervously at the hallway. And then they saw it. A faint glimmer, a movement in the shadows near the red door. Someone or something was waiting, unseen, ready to intervene if the intruder succeeded. The air was electric with suspense. Milo whispered urgently, He's not alone, he's never alone. But Titan, we have to stop him first." The intruder's eyes narrowed. He realized his calculations were incomplete. Titan wasn't just a dog. Milo wasn't just a child. Together, they were a force he had underestimated, one capable of seeing through strategy, manipulation, and fear itself. He lunged again toward the door. Titan responded instantly, teeth flashing, body coiled like a spring. The child's tiny voice rose above the chaos. "No, not this time, he can't get in." The struggle was violent but precise. Titan blocked the door while Ramirez and other officers held the intruder. Milo's small hands pressed against the dog, guiding, instructing, commanding. It was a symphony of instinct, memory, and courage, the past and present intertwined. Suddenly, the red door creaked, shifting slightly under pressure. A faint glow emanated from the gap, illuminating the hallway with an eerie light. Milo gasped. He's almost there, but Titan, hold him." The intruder's face twisted in frustration and desperation. "I need it. I need the memories. I can't fail again." Milo's small voice, unwavering, cut through the tension. You already failed. Titan remembers. I remember. You have no power here." Titan growled, vibrating through the floor. The intruder recoiled, realizing brute force was useless. The memories, the secret, the bond between child and dog, it could not be broken by intimidation or cunning. Judge Harris felt his heart pound. He had seen brave defendants, armed intruders, violent threats, but nothing like this. A toddler and a dog holding back a man who had once controlled them both, using instinct and memory as weapons. And then, with a final, desperate lunge, the intruder reached for the door. Titan snapped forward, barking, teeth glinting in the eerie light. Milo's hand pressed against the dog, guiding him with certainty. Not now, he cannot take it." The red door swung open slightly under the pressure, revealing nothing. A bare room, dusty and abandoned, empty except for a few scattered papers, old boxes, and shadows stretching across the walls. The intruder froze, stunned. Milo whispered, voice trembling but steady. It's empty, but it's never empty. The memories, the past, it's in us. He cannot control it. Titan, we remember. He has nothing here." The intruder's face twisted in fury, rage, and disbelief. All his planning, all his patience, all his knowledge of Titan and Milo, useless. The room held nothing, yet the secret it contained was alive in the child and the dog. Titan growled, low and menacing, coiled and ready. Milo's tiny hands guided him firmly. He's done. We win. The red door, it cannot hold him. He has no power over us. Officer Ramirez exhaled, relief flooding him, though caution remained. The intruder was restrained, but his obsession was clear. He had underestimated the bond between memory, instinct, and courage, the bond that made Titan and Milo a force impossible to control. Judge Harris realized the truth. The danger was over for now, but the implications ran deep. The red door was more than a room. It was a symbol of memory, fear, and survival, a secret held not in walls but in the hearts and minds of those who had faced it. And outside, a faint shadow lingered, watching the courthouse, waiting for the moment the intruder, or someone connected to him, would attempt again. The story was not yet finished. Because the secret of the red door was alive, embedded in memory, courage, and instinct, and Milo and Titan were its guardians. The courthouse was a battlefield of silence and tension. Titan's growl vibrated through the polished floors, a low, warning thunder that seemed to echo from the walls themselves. Milo's small hands rested on the dog's massive frame, guiding him like a conductor orchestrating a symphony of instinct and courage. The intruder, restrained but seething with frustration and obsession, had been pushed back from the red door, but his eyes glimmered with one final, dangerous determination. Outside the hallway, shadows shifted. Ramirez and the officers held their positions, every muscle taut, every heartbeat synchronized to the impending storm. Milo's mother clutched him, whispering soft reassurances, though her voice betrayed fear. This was no longer just a fight in a courthouse. It was a fight for control over memory, over survival, and over the very courage that resided in the small child and the dog. Milo whispered to Titan, He's not finished. He thinks he can come back. He thinks he can trick us, make us forget, make Titan forget." Titan's ears twitched, his body coiled, muscles ready to spring. He growled low, a warning that the intruder understood all too well. The man's jaw tightened, and for a moment a flicker of doubt crossed his face. This was not going to be an easy victory. The child and the dog were unpredictable, united, and aware. Judge Harris leaned forward over the bench, heart pounding. What can we do? How do we stop him?" Milo's voice, small but piercing, cut through the tension. We remember. Titan remembers. He cannot take the past from us. He will try, but he has nothing." The intruder's eyes narrowed. He whispered under his breath, almost to himself, "I will have it, I will control it, I will make them forget. I will." Ramirez tightened his grip on the man. "Not a step closer," he said, voice low but firm. "One move and it's over." The man laughed softly, a chilling sound that echoed off the walls. "You think restraint will stop me. You think fear will stop me. I've waited, I've planned, I know their weakness." Milo's tiny hands pressed against Titan. He thinks he knows, but he does. Titan, we remember everything. He has no control. A sudden movement in the shadows caught everyone's attention. The intruder's accomplice, or perhaps another agent of his obsession, was slipping through the side hallway unseen, waiting for the perfect moment. Titan's ears twitched. He growled low, sensing the presence before anyone else could. Milo whispered sharply, He's coming. We can't let him get close to the door." The officers moved instinctively, but it was Titan and Milo who formed the true barrier. Titan's massive body blocked the hallway while Milo guided him, using instinct and memory to anticipate every move the intruder made. Every shift, every twitch, every breath was a warning, a strategy rehearsed silently in the hearts of child and dog. The intruder struggled against Ramirez's grip, eyes locked on the red door. "I will open it," he shouted. "I will control it. I will have what's mine." Milo's small voice, trembling but fierce, rang out. "No, Titan, we stop him. We remember." Titan lunged, blocking the man's movement toward the door. Milo's hands guided him, pressing him against the intruder with precise authority. The dog's growl escalated to a roar, vibrating through the walls, through every person in the room. The intruder faltered, stepping back, realizing brute force would not win. Milo's voice cut through. He's finished. He has no power over us." Outside the courtroom, the accomplice moved closer, but Titan's senses had anticipated the shadow. Milo whispered, He wants to trick us, to distract Titan, to take the bag, to reach the door." Titan's eyes locked on the shadow, growling low, muscles coiled. Milo guided him like a maestro, a tiny commander orchestrating the defense of memory itself. Every instinct of the dog, every observation of the child, every memory of fear and courage intertwined to create a barrier no weapon, no cunning, no obsession could breach. The intruder's eyes widened. He realized finally that the past, the red door, the memories, the fear, was not something he could possess. It lived in Titan, in Milo, and the courage that had grown between them. He could plan, manipulate, intimidate, but he could not break them. Desperation flickered across the man's face. He tried one last tactic, a sudden surge toward the door using Ramirez as leverage. Titan reacted instantly, a blur of teeth and muscle snapping at the intruder's wrist. Milo shouted, "Stop him! Titan, remember!" The intruder fell back, screaming in frustration and rage. His plan, years in the making, crumbled in moments. The black bag, the coded notes, the tools, they were irrelevant. The power he sought was not in objects or devices. It was in the bond between memory, courage, and instinct, and that bond could not be stolen. Judge Harris watched, heart pounding, as Milo and Titan stood together, victorious not through force but through understanding, through awareness, through the unbreakable connection between child and dog. Milo's small hands rested on Titan's head, whispering words only they could understand. We protect it. He cannot touch it. We remember." The intruder, restrained and powerless, stared at them with a mixture of fury, disbelief, and fear. He realized that the red door, the secret, the past, it was never about a physical space. It was about courage, memory, and love, and those could not be taken. Outside, the shadows dissipated. The accomplice had retreated, realizing the danger was too great, that the bond between Milo and Titan was impenetrable. Ramirez and the officers secured the courthouse, ensuring that no further threats remained. The red door, now open, revealed only emptiness, but the true contents had never been material. Milo whispered softly to Titan, It's done. We did it. He has no power. We remember." Titan leaned into Milo, panting, body relaxing slightly. The dog's eyes, still alert, reflected trust and gratitude. Milo smiled faintly, exhausted but triumphant, aware that they had survived a battle no one else could have endured. Judge Harris approached slowly, voice trembling. "Milo, Titan, I've never seen anything like this. You stopped him. You protected the past and yourself." Milo nodded, small hands resting on Titan. He wanted to control, to scare, to take, but we remembered. Titan, we can't let him win. Ramirez shook his head, disbelief etched across his face. A toddler, a dog, against a man who knew everything about him, and he lost. I don't understand it, but I saw it. I believe it. Milo's mother hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. "My baby, my brave boy, you did it. You saved us all." Milo whispered softly, almost to himself. It wasn't just me. Titan, we did it together. He cannot control us, cannot touch the past. We remember and we protect." The intruder, still restrained, glared at them one last time. His obsession, his knowledge, his cunning, powerless against the courage and memory shared between a child and a dog. He realized finally that some bonds, some secrets, some strength could never be stolen. The courthouse settled into silence. The red door, open and empty, stood as a symbol, not of what had been lost, but of what had been protected. Courage, memory, instinct, bonds that could not be broken. Milo's small voice, full of quiet triumph, whispered, We won. The past, the fear, the shadows, they can't touch us. Titan, we protect it. We remember." And Titan, faithful and loyal, leaned into him, a silent guardian of memory, courage, and the unbreakable bond between child and dog. Outside, the world continued, unaware of the battle that had been fought and won in a small courthouse. But Milo and Titan together carried the knowledge that some truths, some secrets, some power were theirs to protect, unyielding and eternal. And in that quiet victory, the final stand had been made. The intruder was defeated. The red door had been revealed, and its secret, living in memory and courage, could never be stolen. The story ended not with destruction, but with guardianship, love, and the triumph of instinct and courage over obsession, fear, and manipulation. The courthouse, once a place of ordinary justice, had become a battlefield of memory, a testament to bravery, and a home for an unbreakable bond between a child and a dog.